You need to try and pick off the units as look at the shields on the mark.
What is up, guys? We are back. This is Pain User.
And this is HD.
And we have game 2 for you guys between ESC GoOdy and Vile State. It's going to be a Terran versus Protoss on Xel'Naga Caverns. And game 1 going to GoOdy. We have State spawning as our pink Protoss in the bottom position, and we have GoOdy spawning as our purple Terran in the top position. GoOdy, no surprise, going mech in game 1, able to take it nonetheless, and it seemed like State was even prepared with some type of a counter mech build order. He made quite a few Immortals. He also hallucinated quite a few Immortals.
He also had Warp Prisms ready, too.
And still getting devastated in the big fight.
Absolutely
Mech just
destroyed.
So cost efficient.
The thing about siege tanks is they are very, very powerful, but they're very immobile. The way for Protoss to really defeat mech is to outmaneuver the Terran mech ball. But when on a map like Shakura's Plateau, when GoOdy's able to just hunker down on his 3 bases and the pocket expansion with all of his tanks around in a nice formation, it can be very difficult to kind of harass the Protoss. And I think Pain User, that State was trying something with the Warp Prism, but it just never came to fruition because of all that Hellion harass.
Well, yeah, never used the Warp Prism on the main, never used it on the natural, because you can really throw a wrench in the machinery of a Terran player going mech if you decide to use a Warp Prism and start warping in tons of gateway units into the main, forces them to unsiege tanks, you relocate, and just the amount of effort required to deal with drops and little abuses of mobility is just so difficult to deal with mech because obviously you're so immobile. So would love to see State really abuse the immobility of the mech, and I think on this map a perfect counter to mech is just a real quick, 1 gate fast expand into Blinkstalker Colossus, and then you use the Colossus to sight the high ground of the main of the Terran player, and then you just blink up into the main with all your Colossus. You could start taking out factories, you can just camp their production, destroy units as they come out, and then as soon as he's forced to relocate all those tanks and pull everything to the main, you just blink out.
Yeah.
I've seen players just destroy mech with that build. It's so good.
Yeah, the thing about Colossus is they do spot the high ground. Yeah, Stalkers can blink around the map very easily, and you're right. This is the map to kind of do some kind of a harass-oriented strategy on with those Blink Stalkers. I've seen even just opening up with 3-gate Blink Stalkers work fairly well, but it looks like this time GoOdy is going to open up with a Marauder first, and he's going to get Concussive Shells, so I wonder this game is he maybe going to go with more bio-oriented strategy?
He'll do that from time to time. I've seen it. A lot of times he will just continue to transition into mech anyway.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a feint to throw his opponent off, and it looks like that first Marauder is going to miss the SCV, and he will put that supply depot up, preventing the probe from coming in. Probe will prevent that probe from coming in, and he does have another Marauder on the way out, so he will be able to take out this probe, and he does have Concussive Shell, 1 Marauder, a Marine, and an SCV on the way in right now towards his base, but State only has 1 Stalker
gateway
and 1 Sentry coming out just now. He's starting to chrono boost it, and that second gateway is not going to be up in time, and it looks like he may lose this Stalker. A good force field coming out of State right there.
Yeah, really, really good force field. Doesn't look like he placed it perfectly because you can actually block off everything, but those Marines and Marauders, at least the Marines, are slim enough to fit by. But I think State should be able to hold this off. May lose his Stalker in the back here. GoOdy focusing it down, and it's going to force State to pull probes off the line. Ends up killing the Stalker, but this last Marauder I doubt will be able to kill much more than 1 Sentry, but I think that GoOdy's attack here was definitely well worth it.
Well, he certainly put some pressure on. He was able to kill that initial Stalker and a Sentry. So yeah, the attack definitely worth it, paying for itself.
The thing about Sentries too is you want to kill them early on so they can't accumulate that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a very early Stargate here coming out of State. Looks like, his train of thought must be, he's making these Marauders. He's only working off of 1 Rax. and he's probably going to transition into mech. So he's only going to be able to build Marines off that single racks. He doesn't have stim. He doesn't have combat shield, and any kind of a Void Ray build could just be devastating here to GoOdy. It's going to be very hard for him to hold something like that off. Let's see if that's what State decides to do. He could also be going with a Phoenix build here, and GoOdy with some great scouting through the back near the Tasteless Secret Hallway is going to see that pylon going up. So very well done by him. And oh my goodness, we have a starport coming out of GoOdy.
He's actually probably going to be able to get the defenses necessary to deal against the Void Rays. But the thing here is it looks like he's going to open up with Banshee first. So depending on how he scouts the Protoss and if he can control the Watchtowers or something and see that Void Ray, the 2 Void Rays that are being chrono boosted out, I would love to see him. Yeah, it looks like he is going to get Vikings, in fact, out of this starport right away. So really good prediction by GoOdy.
Yeah, so impressive. I mean, he just must have dealt with people who know how to deal with him so many times. He probably just assumes at this point, they know I'm going to go mech. He's going to make some Void Rays. I'm going to make a Viking. So there you go. And he is making a Viking. Let's go ahead and check from GoOdy's vision real quick and see if he even knows about that Stargate. No, he has no idea. So very impressive out of him. And at the front door, we do have State poking and prodding a little bit. The first Void Ray is here, and it is going to start working on that supply depot. He breaks the charge, however, opting to attack some of those SCVs. Now we have the charge going once again. The SCVs all on auto repair, repairing one another, and the Stalkers coming in to pick off a few of the SCVs now, but GoOdy doing a great job delaying here.
Yeah, all he wanted to do there was just hold the supply depot for as long as possible so those forces can't run up. GoOdy knows that he needs his second bunker here, and he loses a lot of SCVs there. Could have kept them alive, I feel like.
I think he had to, though. I mean, I really think he had to.
Yeah, he's keeping the supply depot up, and he does have 2 fully loaded bunkers and a tank back here along with this Viking. I think he will be able to hold this off if State decides to push in, but the thing here is State has a contain over the Terran, and State has a larger economic advantage.
Yeah, he does for the time being, though. It's only 20 to 29 right now, and GoOdy has those 2 orbitals, but he is trying to push up the ramp here. State actually getting in range of one of the bunkers. He is going to lose his first Void Ray immediately. Second Void Ray goes down. All of his units are dying here. This push definitely not worthwhile for State, losing so many units right there. And keep in mind, GoOdy has just finished his second orbital command. He will begin to double mule and double produce SCVs, and he is going to be able to close that gap relatively quickly.
Yeah, you're right. The second orbital there just finishing, so now GoOdy has double the amounts of, well, potential income, so to say. And now that he's got 2 Vikings hovering over his front door here, I've got to say, those Void Rays are null and void. The Vikings pretty much have so much range that the Void Rays will never get a chance to shoot them down. And GoOdy, I think, will be feeling pretty safe to secure his natural as soon as he gets, I would say, maybe 1 more tank out, or he may just be feeling frisky because it looks like Vol State now has fallen back.
May I make a pun?
Oh, of course.
No, I'm kidding. I was just saying the null and void. I liked it. So we do have 2 more Void Rays, which, yes, at this point are null and void. They're not going to be able to accomplish anything. Robo facility coming down for State, and now back at GoOdy's base. He is just continuing to macro up here, continuing to produce siege tanks, which he loves oh so much. They're like, his little baby units. He can't live without them.
He sends Valentine cards to them on Valentine's Day.
Well, they haven't let him down so far, so he's best to show a little bit of love to them. Probably has private conversations with his tank commanders, pulls them aside, gives them rewards, and then I'm sure he has his ace tank commanders, which he probably rewards extra specially.
Yeah?
If I was in GoOdy's army, I would expect to get rewarded.
GoOdy's happy ending. Can't miss that. All right, guys. GoOdy now has secured the natural. Oh, there's still a pylon here from State. I'm pretty sure GoOdy doesn't see that. I'm sure he'll see it sooner or later as he starts to kind of establish his security over more towards the west side here, and he'll be able to take that pylon out. And back in the main, State has kind of got this little nice formation with the robotics facility and Stargate. And we are seeing the Observer coming out. And it does look like GoOdy is going to come in here with the Phoenix just to do a scout, avoids the Vikings with that awesome speed.
Not for long.
Yeah,
it looks like he's going to pick that off. Boom! No. Vikings with that epic range.
Yeah.
Able to just cut them off at the choke and takes down that Phoenix. So State losing a real Phoenix right there, by the way, not a hallucinated Phoenix.
Yeah.
I thought for a second it might have been a hallucinated Phoenix, but he did actually commit to a real Phoenix. And now sitting on these 3 Void Rays, it's going to be very interesting to see how State transitions out of this. State actually up 90 to 64 supply currently, able to take a huge lead in supply. But then again, GoOdy really just getting his production online, now has those 3 factories, so he will be able to start to close that gap. Look to see him build a few Thors here, and once he starts pumping those Thors, his supply will begin to skyrocket.
Yeah, production online indeed. Reminds me of the good old Goliath.
Goliath online.
All right, GoOdy here. Yeah, you're right. He has 3 factories out now. He can really start to pump out his forces. And those Hellions, man, like I said in the game before, they are so good at harassing. And even in the big battles, Hellions are fairly good against Protoss. As long as the Protoss doesn't have like a ton of Colossus, the Hellions are really good at just taking out sentries, taking out zealots or charge lots. Even against immortals, they're decent. They're fairly decent. And GoOdy now is using that dropship once again. He's going to be bringing out the quad Hellion drop.
Go ahead, Tatcom.
Indeed.
Ooh, he is going to get in there for another Hellion drop, and those worked out so well for him in Game 1. I can't help but think that they might work out again here, although State doing a great job blocking things off this time around. He doesn't have a full wall in the back, though. He only has that 1 pylon. He needs to close that off. He does have those 2 gateways, however. Those are really going to help out, although he might move his units out here just now, moving them a little bit to the left, and they will be there in time. But those Hellions are going to be able to get in. Great force fields coming down from State right there, preventing those Hellions from getting in. So well done. And he's thwarted the first of hopefully many Hellion drops.
Yeah, absolute U-turn right there from those Hellions. They ran in there, decided it was a dead end, lost 2 of their comrades. Yes, busted the Yui. That was the Fast and the Furious.
If only they had a reverse, right?
If only they had Vin Diesel driving them. Then maybe they would have gotten out there a little bit easier. All right, State here is pushing all across the center with Stalkers and Void Rays after finally, like you said, thwarting the Hellion harass. There's a dropship here at the top left. The pylon does not see it. Ooh. So GoOdy will be able to possibly do another Hellion drop, but he's only got 2 in there rather than 4.
There is another pylon on the left-hand side of the map, however, and that might actually find this dropship. But GoOdy sees it. Hopefully he does not run into that. Man, I hope he doesn't forget about that medevac in the top left. Yeah. And it looks like we have Blink Stalkers with a ton of Void Rays here, actually getting in range of some of those tanks. I don't know why. He's being very careless right now. State just moving around, not really committing to anything, and I think that's really going to hurt him. He was being so indecisive right there and just microing for a little bit, taking so much damage, but wow.
Yeah, he's actually doing a lot of damage.
He is indeed.
He had that army supply from the beginning of the game, and he's abusing it right now. He's coming in here with all these Stalkers, and GoOdy really has about 4 tanks in the back. They are immobile, especially compared to the Stalkers. Blink, they're going to get a factory here. The factory will be allowed to burn to death. Even the tech lab going down. GoOdy is losing the heart of the production facilities. He's losing everything in Berlin, and he's not going to be able to produce nearly as much as he was before. He'll have to replace his factories, and those Stalkers are able to blink out.
Well, State did lose an awful lot of supply right there, and he really didn't accomplish that much. He put a dent in the production, but it's nothing that GoOdy can't handle, and he lost so many units right there. He was just being way too indecisive, moving his units back and forth, not attacking, didn't pick off the Vikings. I was expecting him to pick off those Vikings immediately. We did have a little bit of a drop going down in the main here. Not sure how much damage exactly was done there, but nonetheless, a 2 Hellion drop was committed to the main, and he will be able to keep that medevac alive, and it is in the bottom left.
But you know what, Payne? I feel like you're right. He was hesitant, but I think he did kill off enough Thors and tanks to make it equitable, because if you look at the army tab now, he's still ahead. He's still ahead by a good 23 supply. So yeah, he was hesitant, but I still feel like, he did enough, even though he lost a ton of Stalkers, that it was a fairly good trade. And GoOdy now is actually a little bit of a deficit, because State now is going to be grabbing his 3rd Nexus, whereas GoOdy well, he does have his third command center up, so I think both players will be going to 3-base fairly soon.
Yeah, GoOdy definitely going to look to take his third here. Will it be the gold? Will it be the safe third in the corner? I do not know. He probably will take the gold because he can use mech to hold the middle of the map, keep control over those vital areas, and screen for the gold. Probably get a PF up there. Once he secures that territory, he'll be in a much better position. He can add some more production. We do have weapons too on the way for GoOdy right now, and it looks like he is going to start to move out, head over to that gold. And wow, it looks like State is thinking the same thing. Going to head over towards the right side of the map. No, he's actually going to stop at the gold. GoOdy is going to do the same. Both players parking their armies in almost the exact same position on opposite sides of the map.
Yeah, free parking here. And it looks like GoOdy is going to destroy those rocks, but State here is pushing out Pain, and he's got a lot of Immortals here. Good lord, he's got 7 Immortals. That is the absolute counter to Heavy Mech, and GoOdy here could be in a little bit of trouble. I feel like State has enough forces to make a push happen. It would certainly be, now would be the time before that command center becomes a planetary. And GoOdy is going to park there, but State, yeah, he's just going to fall back, and I guess he's just going to wait. But,
yeah, State, one of those players that, I've talked to him about this before, and he is just so hesitant to commit in situations where I feel like he absolutely has the upper hand. There's no two ways about it. GoOdy actually canceling his PF there in the event that he would have to lift it off. It looks like he saw State's army and even realized, hey, oh, man.
Oh! Hellions getting some damage here. State, once again, moving out with his whole army. Only had 1 photon cannon in the back. He really needs more coverage. With those
Absolutely.
But
and now I get what you were getting at with the, I didn't see it at first, and then all those probes just exploding. But what I was going to say is that GoOdy saw State's army, realized how big it was, instantly decided, I can't fight that, canceled the PF, would have lifted it off, but State unwilling to commit. And you do not want to sit back and max out to 200 with a player who's getting pure mech. I mean, the mech ball is just going to be so strong going into the later portions of this game, and I don't know what State's thought process is here. And it looks like he's spreading all of his units out, getting ready to commit to some kind of a push here. And I don't know if GoOdy's going to make the first move or if State's going to make the first move, and it looks like State is.
Oh my god, here we are. Yes, State making the first attack here. GoOdy using some EMP shockwaves over the Immortals, draining them of their shields. It looks like State may have enough, but once again, though GoOdy has his planetary fortress up, it's definitely going to help. State with an aggressive blink actually wipes the floor of all the mech.
Those Immortals moving at a very slow pace, but annihilating everything in their path, and good game is called. State making the proper adjustments. And if you notice there what I was talking about in the early game about the Blinkstalker Colossus build, State just variating that a little bit, using the Void Rays to spot the high ground, blinking in with all of his Blinkstalkers at a very good timing, able to weaken the production a little bit, start to whittle that tank count down, and just a very well played game by State. I feel like he had the advantage throughout the entire game, and who knows who's going to take game 3 going into the rubber match here.
Yeah, I am so excited to see what's going to happen in Game 3 because both these players have now taken a game apiece. State has shown he can adapt, even though he is hesitant. He can adapt, and his superior composition of units were able to win him the game at the end of the day, and he's been able to thwart the Hellions much better than in Game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. He was all over the Hellion drops. Yeah. Great walls, great awareness, had pylons spread out around the map, was able to, see them coming, forced him to continually drop over there at that position. So well done. And that brings the series all tied up at 1-1. So stay tuned, guys. We will be coming right back with the rubber match in the series between ESC, GoOdy, and Vile State.